Welcome back to the Whatnauts review show. My name is Kyle Springer, and I am joined by Melissa Wilkinson. Melissa, how are you?
I'm doing fine, Kyle. Good morning.
Good morning, indeed. If you guys did not know, here at the Whatnauts review show, each week we have a different story to talk about. This is our weekly book club style podcast, covering all sorts of genres and mediums, from comics to movies, TV shows, manga, all sorts of stuff. Each week is something new, and this week we are talking about Something is Killing the Children, volumes 1 and 2. We'll get to that in just a sec. Melissa, how's your weekend been so far?
It's been fine. I got to watch Dune yesterday.
Oh, what'd you think?
I had a good time. I could have gotten to watch Dune at any point because I just have HBO Max at any time I can turn it on. But I did want a cinematic experience. So I went over to my friend's house and she's got like an OLED TV.
Definitely worth it, yeah.
Surround sound. Like she's got the fanciest home theater setup of any person I know. So I'm like, can I watch Dune at your house?
That's cool. That's good.
It was great. We had popcorn. It was better than any theater.
Good stuff. Yeah, I got to watch Dune on Thursday night, and I really enjoyed it. I felt it was a little incomplete, considering it didn't cover all of the first book there, but there is supposed to be a sequel that they're making, but I don't know when that's coming out, so who knows. But good stuff. A lot of people seem to really be enjoying it. I've seen people on Twitter being like, I knew nothing about this going in. I didn't know what to expect. And I walked out being like, that's awesome. So
yeah, it wasn't as aggressively complex as I thought it might be going into it. I was prepared to tell my brain to do zero work. Like if things got slightly hard, I'm like, Melissa, you can check out. You don't have to know anything about Dune. You just watch some actors you like wander around the sand. I actually understood most of it.
Yeah, I saw a lot of peers who used to work at IGN and Rooster Teeth and all that stuff tweet out afterwards. I too have dreams about making out with Zendaya in dreamy beaches and stuff like that. It's good stuff. Good stuff. But Melissa, this week we are here to talk about a comic that I really enjoy called Something is Killing the Children.
Yes.
Our Halloween, all Spooktober, October month, I don't know how to say that, is still happening. It's still rolling on. And we got some spooky comics to talk about this month. Let's see here. I got volume 1 in my hands right now. Something is Killing the Children, volume 1 right here. This is by James
Eisner
Tynion
Award
IV.
winner.
Eisner Award winner indeed for the 2020 Best New Series.
Oh, it's that new.
Yeah, it is. This is by James Tynion IV and Werther Dell'Edera, as well as Miguel Muerto. And this is published by Boom Studios. Yeah, I picked up this book because I had been hearing good things and I liked the artwork. I had seen a bunch of the pages and stuff just kind of around on Twitter and stuff like that. And I think I picked it up like Free Comic Book Day not too long ago, and I bought that first volume. And I went back home and I read it and I was like, this was really good. And I went back and I bought the second and third volume. And I am still waiting on volume 4 to come out. So I think it's supposed to be out this next month, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so it's
They're really moving along.
It's still being made, but yeah, this is a great series. I highly recommend you all check it out. Before I ask Melissa her thoughts on all of this, I do want to at least mention that this book has been so popular that it was originally meant to be a mini series, just like a single volume, one and done thing, that they moved it to an ongoing series. On top of that, there's now a spin-off series, which I believe premieres the same day that this podcast will go live. So this Wednesday, House of Slaughter #1 is going to be in comic book stores. On top of that, let me pull up this article here so I get the names right. The Dr. Sleep filmmakers will be tackling the hot comic Something is Killing the Children for Netflix. This will be by Trevor Macy and Mike Flanagan, who you guys might know from Hill House or from the recent... God, what was the one that they just did that I pitched not
Midnight
too
Mass.
long ago? Yes, Midnight Mass. So the creators behind that are at least tackling the co-writing and executive production on the pilot, adapting this for Netflix.
Awesome.
So, yeah, who knows when that will be exactly, when that will happen and come to light, but that's exciting stuff that this has been. Like, it's just, you put this out and is instantly a hit, and they're like, I can make more, I can do a spin-off, let's make it for Netflix, let's do this, let's do that. So
yeah, I can see why. I did really enjoy this. You pitched me several horror comics. I picked this one because when I Googled it, it had the most colors.
Yes.
And also it was a personal favorite of yours. So I think that's always fun to learn about stories you in particular love and not just things you Googled.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a good time with it. It's got wonderful characters in it. Like, it's very rich. It's very... it's very emotionally sincere amid all of the gore and all of the many, many children dying. I thought it might be kind of a downer, and I don't think it is. I mean, it's very sad that all these children are dying. There's a family in this town that's lost 4 kids, which might be 100% of the kids that they have. But, it's also kind of a fun, like, horror adventure mystery story.
Yeah. There's some action bits behind this all. It's not just like, let's be scared for being scared's sake because we can't really do much about this. But one of the main characters and the organization that she is with, they're monster hunters. So there is this thing of like, hey, this bad stuff is happening, but we'll make it stop. We just need time.
Yeah.
Like, we'll figure it out. We'll beat them. We'll kill all the monsters, stuff like that. But yeah, I like this a lot. I kind of was just, when I initially saw it, was interested in the artwork and was just like, that art just looks so cool.
It does.
That I would check it out, at least for the art by itself. It's this like stylized. I mean, it's realistic enough to be like, yes, this is a realistic looking book, but it is stylized in its own way. I don't want to describe this as scratchy, but they're very like loose with the artwork and the kind of interpretation. Like, there's some characters that have a little bit bigger eyes. There's another character that the way they draw his nose and stuff is something that I don't really see in most comics and stuff, and it's just like, there's something so unique about this artwork here that it draws you in. So good stuff.
Yeah, great character designs. I like the art a lot. I will say that there's frequently like this 2-page spread with a lot of tiny panels in it. Which is kind of frustrating to read digitally.
Have to, like,
I read this on
zoom in
Comixology
somehow,
Unlimited.
yeah.
Yeah, and I prefer like the full page reading experience, and so frequently
here,
I had to
yeah.
jump back and forth between that and the guided view, just like and like flipping between all of these small panels. Like I did it quick enough that like my tablet would freeze up.
Oh
I
man.
I wish I could have read this in paper form.
Yeah, it looks beautiful. I can definitely say that. But yes, both volume 1 and 2 of this are available on Comixology Unlimited if you guys want to check it out, stuff like that. But let's do a brief plot synopsis, so we can then after that get into spoilers and stuff. So, this comic, Something is Killing the Children, is set in a small town up in Wisconsin. I don't remember the name off the top of my head. It's
Archer's
something
Peak.
within Archer's Peak, and there's a young boy who is having a sleepover with his friends. They're playing Truth or Dare, and he ends up telling them this story about this monster that he once saw. And on a dare, they kind of all go out in the woods to see if they can find this monster and prove it's not real. And while they're out there, the boy that has seen this monster before, he slips and he falls and he like rolls down this hill. And while he's falling and while he's stuck down there, this monster comes and it kills all of his friends, and he sees it all. So we pick up with him like in the police station, just being like, I don't know what happened. I don't remember. It's unclear. No one really knows what's happening in this town. And shortly after this, that is when this like blonde-haired, smoky-eyed girl comes in. Her name is Erica, and she claims to be a monster hunter. She's apparently from some kind of like secret society that has been hunting these monsters, and yeah, she is trying to take care of this problem without like news of this spreading or all. Just, let's take care of this quietly before it it gets out and gets big. But the monster problem in Archer's Peak is maybe worse than they thought. So
yep.
Yeah, that is kind of the plot synopsis. Is there something that I missed that you might want to add to that, or is that a good?
No, that sounds good. Something is killing the children. The story gives you exactly what it says on the spine of the book. And Erica, first name Erica, last name Slaughter, is here to kill them with the help of some like 14-year-old boy who later, after like the monster kills his friends, he's like, I was lying when I told them I saw a monster out in the woods. I had to tell them something for truth. I just made up a story. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I don't understand how we went out there and then there was a real monster.
Yeah.
And he's like, I got to know what killed all my friends. Can I help you?
Exactly. Last thing I should mention is that only children can see these monsters. And unless certain things happen, which we'll get to in spoilers and stuff like that. So yeah, there are scenes when someone will be right there and the monster is like right next to them and they have no clue. So yeah, be aware of all that stuff. Going in, there's lots of blood, lots of gore. I think as the name implies, if you have a hard time seeing violence against children and stuff like that, this might be a little bit tough to swallow. But it is gory, but I don't feel like it's. I don't want to say it's not too much because there is a lot. But it I feel like it's more palatable than you think. If that makes sense.
The monsters are very fantastical. Like they've got like big appendages that'll like stab you through the abdomen or something. Like it's very clearly like fantasy creature violence. And there's like a lot of red splatter and a lot of like black silhouettes of like guts being pulled out.
Yeah, stuff like that. So be aware of all of that stuff going in. But yeah, I think that's about it for our plot synopsis, spoiler free thoughts. I cannot wait for volume 4 to come out and continue the story and to start picking up this new spin-off series.
Yeah.
Too. So you will see with that. But for now, let's take a quick break for housekeeping, and then when we get back, we will get into spoilers after that. So we will be right back. We put a lot of hard work into the shows that we make, and yes, we make multiple different shows here at the Whatnauts, and we'd love it if you would check them all out. You can find out more information on our website at thewhatnauts.com, as well as your favorite podcasting platform of choice. When you type in the Whatnauts, all of our shows will pop up right there. Just don't forget to give us a nice rating and review if you like the shows. If you want to support what we do here at The Whatnauts, patreon.com/The Whatnauts is the best place to do that. You can support us for as little as $1 a month. You can get all kinds of exclusive content at the $3 tier. You can also get a shout out and thank you on all of our shows at the $5 tier. You can support us on Twitch by subscribing to our channel at twitch.tv/The Whatnauts, and we would love to have you all join us for our live streams and talk with us in the chat. And lastly, we have merch. If you want to grab yourself a shirt or a sweatshirt or a mug or something else, go to thewhatnauts.com/store to pick up some merch today. And we are back. Big shout out to our Patreon supporters, especially those at the $5 tier and above. So thank you to Sam. We love you and we appreciate you a lot. Thank you. Cool things that we have been doing here at the Whatnauts. Melissa, you and I just did our Halloween tradition, our Halloween captain's log. Where we take old stories that we talked about on the captain's log, things just in conversation that came up, small anecdotes, and we take those stories and we twist them into horror stories. And it was good. It was fun.
No, that's one of my favorite traditions we do. This was our 3rd year running that we've done it. We've built up a whole lore. We dress up. This is definitely the episode to go to our YouTube page and like watch the video. We have spooky lights. We have costumes. We tell each other these spooky Twilight Zone-esque, but also very silly stories. It's a good time.
Indeed. Speaking of more spooky stuff, we did our Patreon exclusive video for this month in which Melissa and I were reacting to horror trailers. And we had something spooky happen in the recording of that. Was not planned. Melissa, it was captured on video.
Oh my God.
Because I was, so I won't spoil it exactly, but I was thinking it was something only I could see on my screens. This was not planned. This is not an effect that I like put on. Like something was happening to my computer. And it's kind of weird. It's a weird occurrence, but yes, when it happens, you guys will know because I'm just like, what the hell is happening? And you will see it on screen. So it is interesting. You guys can get that at the $3 tier and above on our Patreon, and that will be up by time this podcast is live. So yeah, go check it out. Patreon.com/The Whatnauts. All that stuff. Okay, I think that's about it for housekeeping for now. So let's get on to spoilers. Here we are. Can you believe that the gremlins make a return in this comic? And they're just like stabbing people and all sorts of stuff, right? No. Satan
God.
is killing the children. Melissa, where do you want to start with this?
Oh. Oh, dude, let's start with Erica herself. I like Erica. I love her visual design. She's
Perfect.
blonde. She's got this like big ponytail on top of her head, and she looks so much like a cheerleader to me.
She
And to
almost
have,
does, yeah.
yeah, and she's got these big eyes. But then you look
Or
at
like used to
everybody
be.
else. Right. Maybe it's just the ponytail. Like she's got a cheerleader ponytail. And cheerleaders have those, because it's all the way up out of their face while they're doing jumps and flips and stuff. It's practical. You need your hair out of your face when you're killing monsters too, not just when you're on top of a pyramid of other people.
Exactly.
But yeah, she's got these huge eyes, and then you look at the other characters and the way they're illustrated, and it's like, oh, that's not like an overall stylistic thing. You in particular, you have these huge eyes. They're neon green. Like you said, yeah, she's got this like intense, like Winter Soldier smoky eye look going on. She looks severely haunted.
Yeah, and sleep deprived and stuff like that, which I think we can kind of assume is also the case, because there is one scene where the like receptionist at the police station is like, hey, you got these bags under your eyes, like I had that when I had the nightmares and stuff and this and that, and she's just like, I'm fine, I'll take coffee. But yeah, I really like the design on her. We know she was not a cheerleader because she has been involved with this like secret society since she was really young. But yeah, we learned that I think she said like her sister was killed, and then it killed her parents. After that, whatever this monster
I think she said it killed her best friend and her parents. Best friend may have been a sister. We don't know very much about that yet.
Sure. And she, for the most part, was hiding in the closet when her parents were being killed, but at some point decided to leave the closet and try and fight back. Because there's one panel that we get of her with this knife, and as she doesn't really get to fight back. I think she says she wounded it, but doesn't really get to fight all that much when someone from this secret society steps in and I helps her kill the monster or trap it in her stuffed animal, which I guess we can get to in a bit here. But they decide to kind of adopt her and take her in and like raise her in this secret society of monster hunters. I think of Saint George. I think is just like
the House of Slaughter.
Name.
Serving serving the House of Saint George or something. Yeah, the secret society of Saint George. There must have been some saint who killed a dragon or something, because everybody's got a tattoo of a coily little dragon with a bunch of spears stuck through it.
Yeah, something like that. Must go back to like medieval times or things of that nature. But yeah, we don't know too much about the secret society stuff yet, because we only read the first two volumes. We get a little bit more information in volume 3. But it's not much. They're still revealing all of that and uncovering it, and I'm sure in that spin-off book that I mentioned, we will get a lot more of that. But yeah, I like her character design because she has such a striking visual language where she can look tired and sad and depressed, or she can look completely focused and just like the like doesn't take much, and she has the swoopy bangs that can like cover one eye, so she can do the like one eye look thing. And she has that big eye there, and it's just like, ooh, you mean business? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, she looks really cool.
And when I was Googling this comic, when you pitched it to me last week, I saw that she's got this bandana that she wears when she's going into battle against a monster that she's tied like around her nose, dangling down on her chest, like Old West robber style. And the bandana has this like, it's all black with these white like monster teeth printed on it. And it looks really cool. And then when you meet the rest of the House of Slaughter, all of them are wearing that. That was a fun addition. Like, I thought this was just this girl's style. Like, she picked up this bandana at a store around Halloween and thought it was funny. It's like, I'll wear this when I fight monsters, you know, so I don't get blood and guts in my mouth. But the fact that that is this like official like societal garb that they all wear, and we meet we see the other members of the House of Slaughter. We're not fully introduced to them, but it's all sorts of people from different backgrounds. A lot of them are much older than she is. They're dressed very sharply, but all of them also have like very bright eyes, and they've got a bandana that's got those monster teeth on it. And they're all slightly different configurations of monster teeth.
Well, I think the House Slaughter all has the same one or really similar, but then we get that one scene where there's the guy and the girl talking, and she has a white one with black teeth, whereas the House Slaughter all has black bandanas with white teeth.
I don't know if they did. I think there might have been a couple other colors in there, and like I said, the teeth I looked at them. They're like slightly different from each one.
We see multiple people in the order, but I'm assuming that one scene at the like conference table where they're all there, I had a feeling that was like maybe like spokespeople for different houses or like heads of each family and stuff like that. That's
like there's different houses under St. George.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's the House of Slaughter or the House of Springer or the House of Wilkinson or something
because
like that.
Yeah, there is a bit where she encounters a police officer who's like checking her ID, and he's like, "Is your real last name Slaughter?" And she's like, "That is a real name." And he's like, "I know it is a real name a person can have, but is it your name?"
Now we know it's not. It's not her real name.
Yeah, but then it also, we know like this society adopted her, but that's also the question of, do we have the concept of slaughter because there's some ancestor of this family who killed all these dragons? Or did this family take this name because they killed all the dragons?
Yeah. Is there House Slaughter, House Scribe, House Clean Up the Mess, House this, House... You're right. Like, does this mainly have more stuff to do with their job within the order? That might be an interesting thing if that's the case, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's very little of the society, for as much as we're talking about it. They're just in the background. We spend most of our time with just the townspeople of Archer's Peak. And I like them a lot. A lot of these characters feel very real.
I was just going to say, before we get on to them, there is one thing I think we should mention about Erica, is that she, as the stray of House Slaughter, as they call her, she kind of wants to do things differently. She doesn't really like the way this whole secret society is doing things. She feels like they are mostly there to cover things up, and in doing so don't have empathy for the real people that are being affected by these traumas. And so she's trying to do things differently, where she can hopefully like actually help and protect these people and not just cover it up. And it seems like this secret society doesn't really have a problem with killing people that might know something of them, and she's not a big fan of that. So I thought that was at least worth mentioning.
Yeah, that is an important part of her character. Like, she tries to keep this a secret, but whereas when we get one of her fellow housemates, as it were, who comes to town to like try and wrangle her in, he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna stab anybody who has heard about this monster thing. She's like, I hate that Tommy Mahoney knows this, but I'm not going to kill Tommy Mahoney. I'm not going to kill an innocent person just because they're going to cause me trouble.
Yeah. Okay, so you were mentioning the town's people now.
Yeah. I like them a lot. I like that it's set in Wisconsin. Erica mentions they think she's from another town in Wisconsin. And when we go to like the house slaughter, like manor, it's in Chicago. I like how Midwestern everything is. Like, this is where monsters roam, is the Midwest. Who knows if any of them get out to like Florida or not. I like the geographic specificity there. I love James, who's this kid that we're following, this like 14, 15-year-old kid whose friends die at the sleepover. I love his story.
The survivor,
that and like he's particularly upset about one of his friends. And Erica's like, were you and him more than friends? And he's like, I wanted us to be, but I don't think that's how he felt. And later we get a flashback where he's talking to that guy, and it's very amicable between the two of them. Like, it's another boy who also has crushes on other boys. He just doesn't have a crush on James, and was like, I think it would be better if we were friends. But he points at another friend who's in their group, like, what about Tyler? Do you think Tyler's cute? I thought that was sweet. I like that he wasn't. I was expecting this to be a tale. Yeah, I was expecting this to be a tale of him being ostracized or being judged by his peers, by this friend that he confesses these feelings to. And the fact that it's all very open and understanding was a wonderful surprise for me.
Yeah. Good stuff indeed. Yeah, James, I what hooked me with this book was basically those first like 2 or 3 pages, right? Where
they're great.
It starts out at the sleepover. They're like, oh yeah, well, I dare you to take me out to the woods where you thought you saw this thing, and and then it's like smash cut to him in the police questioning room, and he's just like, I don't know what happened. It was terrible. Right. They all died. And I was just like, oh shit. Okay. You made this whole thing up, but they died. And like, what is happening here? Like, this is wild. And
there's a scene early on where he's in school, and like he gets called to the principal's office. I forget why, but he did. Like, I think maybe like some kid like accuses him of, oh, if you're the only one who survived, you must have killed your friends. And he like shoves this kid who is antagonizing him. And he goes to the principal's office, and the principal is like, so like not angry, but just like so upset that like this has happened in his school, in his town. And he's like crying, like he's so heartbroken at everything that's happening. And he's like
and doesn't know what to do. It's just like, and kids have gone missing. I don't know how to like console the parents. Yeah, like you're a survivor, so people are targeting you and all that. Like I don't know how to deal with this. And then he mentions he's like, I just got out of college. Like I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, he's a younger guy. He's probably like our age. This principal. Yeah. And he's like newer on the job, and he's like, I feel like you just got me and already have to deal with this. And James is like, you're way better than the old principal. The old principal would have never cried in front of me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
and that's
then
I
he says
also
something of like, I would have hit the kid too. So it's
yes.
like, I don't blame you. It's like, do you
Yeah,
want me to
like
just send you home? I don't know. Like, you want to
yeah.
just leave for the day? He's like, nah. I hear they're watching movies in
Yeah, he's like,
English.
I can watch a
So
movie. That sounds fine. I got to do something to distract myself. And then when he's running
yeah,
around with
that's
Erica,
a good
she's like,
scene.
shouldn't you be in school? And he's like, they're not going to flunk me. I'm the one survivor out of this group of murdered boys. They won't flunk me. I can do
Yeah,
whatever I want. Yeah. All these
yeah.
people we encounter, like right down to like Principal Collins and like the sheriff and the sheriff's like older brother who he got the job as the coroner. I
I
feel like
love
that's a
him. He's
dynamic I've
great.
seen
Yeah.
before, but it's normally like, oh, I had to get my younger brother a job. I like that it's like the older sibling that's kind of the more the lazy one or more the ne'er-do-well, and the younger brother is like the more successful one. He's like, okay, I'm gonna get you into this coroner job. Please stop
Mhm.
drinking beers on the clock. And his older brother's like, what? The beers help. I have to look at all these monstrous, dead kids' bodies as the parents come in to get their kids. I just hand them a beer. It makes them feel better.
Right?
Do you want a
Yeah.
beer?
Yeah. I like the coroner a lot because he signed up for the job thinking like
Yes.
he was like, yeah, it's gonna be
Hunting
old people
accidents. Yeah.
and maybe a hunting accident. Yeah, he's just like, I am not prepared for this stuff. And there's a scene where he's like looking at a pile of these dead kids, and he's just like, I quit. I can't do this. Like, I don't want to. And then his brother, who's the sheriff, is just like, you can't you can't do that. We're in a small town. Like, there's no one
Right.
else. Like, you have
Yeah.
to. And it's just
Yeah.
like
This
it's a
being
terrible situation to be in, right?
Yeah, and like Erica finds the cave where this monster has been, and there's all of these dead kids' bodies and like torn up to pieces. And the police, they don't have anywhere to put that many bodies and like have the space to like sort everything out and like put the pieces back together. So they have to take over the school gymnasium. That's the only space big enough. And like, I just like the logistic details of this. Like, we're in a very small town. We have limited resources. If we need to do this, it has to be here. The principal's going to be the person like liaising with the parents. Like, after we get everything sorted out and we know which parts belong to which kid, then like the principal reads a name off a list and is like, okay, if you're the parents of Abby Richards, please come here and show me your IDs and prove it, and then I'll take you in and you can ID the body. And it's the next parent's turn to come in, and the coroner is like introducing this to the parents, like, okay, everybody gather around. This is what we're gonna do. And he's like, don't be mean to Principal Collins. He's doing his job. We're all trying our best. And if he didn't sign up to do this, we would have to do this in the Piggly Wiggly parking lot.
Yeah.
Be grateful that you have a gymnasium.
That whole like one thing that I don't think that these first two volumes necessarily do well is really give you a clear picture of just how many kids are missing, or have died and stuff like that. Because at first you think it's the like handful of boys that you saw at the start. Then you learn, okay, there's maybe a few more, but maybe not that many more. But yeah, by time we get to the gymnasium and we get to the nest where these like monsters are and the babies are feeding and stuff like that, and you pull out all those bodies and put them in the gym, the like the sheer number of families that show up is just like,
Yeah.
oh, this was a lot bigger of a problem than like this book has let on, right?
Yeah.
Um
Yeah,
so
we
yeah,
never
like,
get a number.
That is one thing I wish, yeah, that we like. I hope this book down the road starts to give us a better look at like just how bad of a problem is this for this town here.
And it's not just that town. Like when we first meet Erica, like we've got the cold open where it's James and his friends at the sleepover. And then we meet Erica and she's like walking out of the woods where she's just killed a monster in like some other town. She goes back to this little girl who's missing both her legs and an arm. And she's like sitting in a wagon. I guess she pulls herself around in. And the girl's like, did you get the monster? And Erica's like, don't worry, I got it. And then she gets the call about everything that's happening in Archer's Peak. And she's like, okay, can I take a shower at your house before I leave? And she's like, yeah, it's okay. My parents are gone.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, there is so much happening in this town, and unfortunately just within these first 2 volumes, we just don't get that full picture. But yeah, it's scary stuff. And just, I think something that stood out to me is it takes moments to give these townspeople a page or 2 of just like, this is how you're dealing with it, or this is how you're coping. Like there's a great scene with the sheriff and James when James is still in the hospital, and he wakes up to find the sheriff. And the sheriff is just like basically sitting there in disbelief, and it's just like, I don't know what to do. Like I don't know how to deal with this. And then he's like, but I need you to tell me, because I need to be ready, and I think I'm ready to like start stepping up. So James, tell me about the aliens.
I love that scene.
Jumps to
and he's like, and he's like got his hands clasped behind his back. He's like staring out the window, very intense. Like, James, I need you to tell me about the aliens. And James is like, you think it's aliens? And he's like, I don't know what else it could be. I think that scene,
it's so real though. Like that's exactly what would happen. Like it has to be aliens. Just like there's nothing else it could be, right? He's just like, you idiot, you think it's aliens?
Right. The scene is funny, and it's also so heartbreaking that it is an adult, like a grown adult sheriff man with a mustache going to this like 14-year-old boy like, I need you to tell me the truth. I know you think it's scary, but I think I can handle it.
Which means he's scared too. Like he knows
he's
it's
terrified,
something, right?
Oh
yeah.
Another real.
Go ahead.
Another really touching little portrait of the town that we get is that we see this guy drinking at a bar, some older man. We haven't seen him before, and he's talking to the bartender about how his teenage son has evidently been killed by one of these monsters, or they don't know that yet, but just, my son is one of the disappeared. I presume he must be dead by now. And he's talking about how, he's heard from other parents that when they think about their kid that's disappeared, they picture like the little baby they held in their arms. They picture this like tiny precious thing they have to protect. And he's like, when I think of him, I think about like the way he comforted his mom after I got laid off from my last job. I think about the way he would help his sister with her homework. He's like, I am picturing the man he was starting to become, and that he's now not going to get to be. And the bartender's like listening, like, are you okay? I'm going to give you one more drink because I know that'll help you sleep. And then I'm going to call you a cab. Okay. And the guy's like, okay. Like, it's this very sweet confession to this very kind listening ear. And then later we see a scene where Erica needs to get weapons, and she goes to a Home Depot, and she's like, and like, scene. This is the salesman. Like, this like contextualizes, oh, that's the guy we saw before, and he only exists in those 2 scenes.
Yeah,
which is
it's a
great,
wonderful scene. I love it.
It's a great use of him that we introduce him as just a sad local dad first, and then he's the guy at Home Depot who Erica comes to like, hey, what is the sloppiest chainsaw you have? Like, I need a chainsaw that has no safety catch that will stop it. I need a chainsaw that just keeps going. What's that chainsaw, please? And James is in there with her, and he's like, can I get these big, scary gardening shears? And she's like, sure, put them in the cart.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing to me is that like he's genuinely trying to do his job, and he's a good
Yes.
salesman.
Like trying to
He's
sell her the
here's
safest chainsaw.
yeah, here's the top of the line stuff. If you want
Yes.
to do the job right, it might be a little bit more expensive, but hey, these safety features make it worth it, right? Like
Yeah.
you can do this and that, and she's just like, that sounds great, but what if I don't want the safety features? Like, what if I want the one to like, if something goes wrong, it's still gonna just be chomping. And he's just like, are you sure you want that one? And then like as he's saying that, that's when James comes running up with these giant scissors, being like, these look scary. Can I buy these? It's so good. It's so good. But yeah, like
I love this town.
Yeah, it's like those moments aren't necessarily meant to be comedic moments per
Not
se.
really. We're laughing now recounting them, but they do add some needed levity to the book that is appreciated.
Exactly. And I think, yeah, they're much needed, and they come at almost comedic times.
Yeah.
Right. So they really do stand out. And yeah, it makes you fall in love with those characters and this town so much more. To see how they're all affected and how they're all dealing with that, but then typically like in those moments is also when they hit you with this thing of just like, oh, okay, that's actually kind of funny the way things are happening. So yeah, good. It's a good mix of stuff, right? Like we were talking about, it has the horror side, it has the blood and the guts, but it also has the action, and it also has these like smaller character moments and these kind of funny moments too. So it's a good mix of stuff.
And we've also got we've also got Tommy Mahoney, who's a character we meet early on. He's a young man. He's maybe like about college age, and his younger sister has disappeared. And it's like just him and his mom, and like the dad's left the family. He like lives in a trailer across town and is still like in touch enough that he's like, I know my daughter's disappeared. I am worried. Please send me updates. But it's just Tommy and his mom, really. And his mom's this like, she's just in a bathrobe. She's constantly smoking. She doesn't sleep. Like she's become hardened by this tragedy, by this sense of loss, by this mystery and this lack of closure of, I don't truly know if my daughter's dead yet. And she's just so harsh and flinty against Tommy.
I don't know if I would describe her as hardened, but I see what you're getting at. Like she's to me, I read her more as just like she has nothing left. Like there's no emotions. Like she's just gone, and because of that, just has like no tolerance for anything. So yeah, she does end up being a little bit stiff with people, and then when we see her at the gymnasium, like she's so stubborn to just like, no, I'm standing here, I'm gonna wait in line all day just to find some kind of closure. For
it might be a better way to describe it. I like she's never overtly sad, she's not crying, she doesn't seem desperate, she's just very
devoid of
she's
emotions.
Very stiff. Which is, I liked how many different portraits of loss that we got in this little town. And like Tommy like doesn't know what to do, and he's like a manager at an Applebee's, which is such a believable thing for him to be doing. And I like that it's like, it's not Applebee's, it's like Apple Beams or something, but you know what it is. And the fact that it's this recognizable chain restaurant works way better for me than if they invented a small local restaurant. Like, oh, I can see this guy at an Applebee's. Yeah.
You know what else sold me on this book is that Eric Slaughter basically did exactly what I do when I'm like, that booth over there, I'm gonna spend like 4 hours here in Chili's.
Yes.
Do you
Yes,
mind
yes.
if I just
She
sit
is
there and
you.
like take up the booth? Yeah, I was just like, that's
Right.
me.
Spread out a giant map across the table, and like they're pinpointing like where all of the bodies have been found, her and James are. And like the waitress comes up and like sees all the pins on the map, and she's like, is that a pentagram? Are you doing devil stuff?
You guys are Satanists, right? Yeah, I like Tommy a lot, but he's an interesting character because he is an older teen.
Yes.
He is someone who he did not have the ability to see these monsters. But apparently there is a way to give people the ability to see these monsters. And the first we kind of get clued in that there might be some way to see this stuff is when they're about to go into the nest, and she has the shopping cart of all those like sharp stuff, and James is like, I want to like go in and help you and do all of this stuff, and she's like, no, stay out here, and he's like, I want to see what you see, and she kind of like looks at the cart and is like, don't get any ideas, but I'm gonna leave you with this stuff. And we don't know what that means until we see what she has to do to James, or no, to Tommy, to make him say this stuff. She has this like special knife that she stabs him like in the side of the head, like in his temple. I think she said it was like covered in like some special gold or something.
Yeah, it's enchanted somehow.
Yeah, it's this like enchanted magical knife, but she stabs him in the side of the head, and that is what enables him to see this stuff, to see these monsters. So yeah, thinking back on that one scene, she must have told James something about the knife, or like something of like, hey, I had this way, it involves like stabbing yourself, like all that stuff, because like I don't feel like she would have mentioned it or told him that if she hadn't like at least hinted on that to be like, hey, don't get any ideas with these like sharp things. Maybe I'm looking into that a little bit too much.
Yeah,
that's like, looking back on that scene, I'm like, oh, like this was maybe a little bit of foreshadowing here.
I was reading it as like, James, a young person, can already like see the monsters. You know, he saw it the first time when it attacked his friends, and he's deep enough in that he's like, don't hide me from the belly of the beast. I want to go into the cave. I want to go into the monster's nest with you. I want to absolutely face this thing. Like he kind of wants to do what she does, because he doesn't want any other kids to die, and she's like, you don't want to do what I do. Like just something like she always says to anybody, like, I am keeping things from you because it is so bad for you to know them. Like that is going to haunt you for the rest of the day, the rest of your days, not just the rest of a 24-hour period. Until you die, Sheriff, you will be haunted by the things I tell you. And that's why I'm not telling you. Like, yeah. I know you're suspicious of me. I would be too, but like, I just can't tell you this stuff for your own good. Trust me that I can take care of these monsters. And yeah, I think that's what she was telling James. Like, James could have gone in there if she had let him and seen everything.
That makes sense.
But it's Tommy, because he's a little older, that she has to prick him with that enchanted knife, and then he can see the monsters. Which is something that I was kind of hoping the story would explore a little bit more. Like it said, like, children can see them and adults can't. But like, what exactly is that line? Like I said, Tommy's like approximately like college age. He could be 19. He could be like 24. We don't really know. He's somewhere in there. Like, around when does this die off? Is it like a certain age? Is it different for everybody? Like, does it just turn off one day? Can you like, does it start to fade away, your sense of being able to see a monster? I was really hoping to get like somebody right in that middle age there. to like see how much they react. Yeah, because like when there's all those families gathered in the school parking lot, it's like parents and like more middle schoolers and like not really anybody in between.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some that seems to be a running theme in the book of just like, hey, there's information we're not telling you, but trust me. Like,
yes,
if you knew the full story, it's much worse than you think, but we're protecting you by not telling you this, right? Because I have the feeling that there are mysteries within House Slaughter or this Order of St. George that we don't have the full picture yet, right? And I think Erica might be on to something that like, hey, there's stuff that they're not telling me, and so I'm kind of rebelling against that. I'm just going to do things my way until you tell me the full picture so I understand. And then like same thing with the sheriff, and I don't remember his name, but that second cop that is there, right? Like the House of Slaughter has called the sheriff to be like, hey, we know how to handle this stuff. We're sending in people, like all, here's all the info you need. But he's not, the sheriff is not sharing that information with this second cop, who's then just like, what have they done to you, man? Who's got you in their pocket? Like something is wrong is happening here. Like you need to let me know so we can stop this. And yeah, it just seems to be this ongoing, like at every level, there seems to be some of that somehow, some way.
And I, like I said, there is this second cop who is more of a renegade, like when Erica is trying to take the one kid who survived the monster's den, this little girl named Beyond, like she tries to take Beyond away, and this other cop like pulls a gun on her, like, no, I don't know what you're going to do. You might use this girl for bait, like keep her here. Like, I don't want you taking her. And then they forget his name, but like the other House of Slaughter member that kind of comes to guide Erica through the rest of the thing, like reaches out to attack the cop, and Erica's like, no, cut it out. Like she sort of like jabs him and like knocks him out, and she's like, sorry about him. And she looks at this other cop and she's like, you know what, if it makes you feel better to keep Beyond, and I know that you will keep her safe, right? Go ahead and keep her. Like, just keep her away from any place that might be dangerous. Don't put her anywhere obvious. Don't take her to like your house where like, my friend could like track her down or whatever. Like, I trust you. Like, there's different levels of trust going on. Like, Erica does try and give like she doesn't look down on the local authorities or any of the adults in town as being foolish. Like, she knows this is hard, this is confusing, this is mysterious. Like, she's very frustrated with them. She's very fed up, but she has the connect. She has empathy for them. Right. Yes.
But she also, that one second cop, she's like, look, you're an idiot, but you're an idiot for the right reasons. Like,
exactly.
You want to keep her safe, so keep her safe. Like that's ultimately what I'm here for too. So I'll give you to her. But yeah, it's just there's all sorts of levels of trust that everyone is trying to navigate. No one has the full picture, and they're all kind of confused, and they're all kind of have the like guns up on one another, and I'm just like, okay, I think we're all here for the same thing, maybe.
Yes.
But you said this one thing that one time, and I don't know who you are, so maybe we can figure something out, maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do here.
It is a situation, right, where everybody's so stressed out, and like everybody does want, I want the children to stop disappearing and dying. I want everybody to be safe. How do I do that? And I like that the sheriff, like when Erica kind of explains things to him, she's like, look, my name's Erica Slaughter. I kill monsters. I'm here to kill the monster. Just stay out of my way. And then the sheriff's like, what? And like what he says is, why is it you? Not like, who are you? How are you going to do this? He's like, why you? And he's so
Yeah.
like, not incredulously, just like sort of frustrated and bewildered to have this like the blonde ponytailed cheerleader looking like young lady. Like Erica's also probably like under 25. And he's like, what? Why is it you? Like he's kind of almost hurt for her. Like, why are you the person who has to put this on your shoulders?
That or like he's maybe expecting someone in a suit, someone that like is obviously has some like military training or something, and
Sure,
here's just this very thin blonde girl who just like shows up with a backpack and a stuffed animal and a big knife. Like,
yeah. She's got this little.
Why?
How? She's got this little stuffed like sock octopus with like button eyes that she. Yeah, that she talks to, and like the soul of the first of that monster that killed her parents, the one that she wounded. Whoever that other slaughterer who came to her house to like took the soul of that monster and like imbued it into the stuffed animal, I think. And so she can like communicate with it, and it's sort of her like the mystical guide, and I think she uses it to like communicate back to the House of Slaughter because the other, what's his name? I'm sorry, I forget his name. He's more of a major
cell
character.
Phones.
Yes.
They use those cell phones to communicate to like back and forth. I think this is just like her personal.
Right.
I don't even know what, because it's like it's her stuffed animal, but it's like she does not like this spirit that is trapped inside it. Like they are not friends, but they do talk back and forth. Like they do have somewhat of a connection now, which I think brings up an interesting question, right? Of like, okay, if you can then bond like the souls of these monsters or the spirits of these monsters that are in these things to other objects. Can it be to people? Are these souls, like, are these monsters somehow created from people? Is that a bit of the mystery?
Yeah.
Like, is this actually someone's soul that then turned into this other thing? I don't know. I just think it starts to bring up some interesting questions and bits of this story that we haven't explored yet.
Yeah. One detail I really like is that to House of Slaughter, to the Society of St. George, the monsters are like specific breeds with specific like known characteristics. Like she rolls into town, she like like hears about like how the children have been disappearing, in what ways, what happened to the bodies that were found. She goes and looks at the place they were taken, and she's like, okay, we've got an obscura type class B, and they operate like this, and we need to like kill the babies before they feed.
You said this
like
was an E7. It's no longer an E7. This is much worse.
Right. Yeah, like they know what they're like. They've got it like just all studied and classified. Like there's procedures, there's best practices for like killing, identifying and killing these monsters. So this is right. Like they must know or have a greater sense than we do, like where they come from, why they show up in certain places, what causes them, how they breed or whatever.
Yeah. So I'm looking at a page here. Sorry, I kind of want to circle back to this like octopus demon trapped inside. We get a good picture of this like soul thing that has been like bonded to the octopus, and this does not look like any of the monsters that we have seen yet. This looks half human, half like Cthulhu tentacle thing with like almost like a flower at the like waist. So Yeah, like I don't know if this is just a different type of monster, because like you were just getting into, like they have classifications for all of this stuff. Are there different looking monsters? We're not clear on that. Um, but because it does have this like human bit or like humanoid part to it, yeah, I think that still raises the question of like, was this her friend or her sister or whoever it was that died? Is this like her
Mm.
mom somehow?
Mm.
How? We don't know. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. That's volume 1, right at the end of issue 2. We get that like good look of it there, and it's just like, ooh,
Right.
that is a creepy looking thing. Whatever it
Mhm.
is.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Wild stuff. Wild stuff. And then I think one of the scariest moments for me in this book is at the end of volume 2, when all the families are at the gymnasium and the babies
Yes.
have gotten loose, and there's
The
this
monster
one little
babies.
girl, yeah, that sees this monster that has finally made its way into the parking lot. She's so scared that she drops her toy, she pees her pants, all of this stuff. But the monster like picks her up, and just
Yes.
like what I imagine this scene looking like in my head, yeah, is like all of a sudden this kid just starts like flying up, like just there's this
Yeah.
invisible monster that is like holding her up, and then it rips her in half. That scene would be horrifying.
Yes.
Just because like this is no longer a monster that is like hiding in the woods and in the dark and all that stuff, and maybe someone saw it or saw it walk through the trees. Like this is in full light of everyone here, and it's just like, oh shit, like this is a big moment for the town to witness this. um and just it's something that none of them understand, because up until then they're like, is this like a wild animal that's killed them? Is there a bear out there?
Yeah.
That the sheriff is like, it's aliens, I think. But yeah, they have no idea. And then to just witness this girl being like suspended in the air would be horrifying. It'd be
Yeah.
terrible. um that I think was maybe like the scariest moment for me. Was there a moment in the book that
No.
particularly spooked you?
That is what I was thinking of. Just that one panel where suddenly the girl is like 8 feet off the ground, torn into 2 pieces.
Yeah,
And like the other kids, can see a monster, but yeah, all of the adults can just see nothing, invisible. The air, the wind tore her apart.
Yeah, just like spontaneously got ripped in half there. Yeah, that scene in particular is gruesome and horrifying. But let's see, what else did I want to talk about? We went back and we talked about the octopus thing. We talked a little bit about House Slaughter. What else? There was something else that I wanted to mention, and I'm drawing a blank now. I don't remember. Oh, you mentioned at the start of the podcast in the spoiler free section that it likes to do these like 2-panel spreads.
Yeah.
Which if you're like reading on your phone or a tablet, on a tablet it would probably be better if you could like turn the tablet sideways. But even then, still, it's like it makes it smaller and stuff like that. But in the print edition, that's also a complaint that I have with this book, is that these two, the way to be clear, I don't mind a 2-page spread where you have to read, instead of reading down one page, you just read across both of them and continue. I don't mind that in theory. I think the way their panel layout worked, it most of the divides between the panels happened in the crease of the book, and it was on these like darker pages where the like outside of the panels was also black, and the panels are all this like dark blue and stuff like that. It's oftentimes just hard to tell, like, do I read only this page or do I read them across? And it's the way, like, if the panels go like over into the next page and it's clear that they do, that's a good signal to be like, okay, I need to continue reading this panel. But since they were so close to like the spine, that like center bit of the book, it was hard to tell. And it was just like, I'm sure it was maybe better in the single issues because you could open those up a little bit more. But in the collected like trade paperback, it didn't work out that well. And I mean, you would figure it out of just like, oh, okay, I'm supposed to read this first and then that, and then okay, now it makes sense. But yeah, I was just they keep doing this and it's not working out exactly.
Yeah, so. I think it looks good, but
yeah.
I think like if the book was just printed with a slightly wider gutter margin, I think that would solve the problem. And if I had a bigger tablet, it would probably solve my problem.
Trust me, when I read digital comics, it's on my phone. So I'm sitting there like this, meaning like zooming in, all that stuff. But I don't like the like zoomed in panel by panel like guided view that they do. I have to do the full page and just like
that's what I like to do.
Scroll. Yeah.
Oh, but I've got like an 8-inch tablet. It's like on the smaller side. One of these days, I do want to upgrade to a larger tablet just for comics reading.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good book. I like this one a lot. I highly recommend it. Go check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. Do you have final thoughts on Something is Killing the Children?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than I thought I did. Like I said, like the visuals are great. I think there's enough sort of moody, like dark blues and eerie greens, but also there are like pops of color. It's not a visually melancholy book, which I think helps the tone a lot. Like you pitched me another book last week that was like entirely like grayscale, like thin, spindly, like dark ink drawings. I'm like, nah. I'm sure that's a great match for the tone of that book, but I don't know if I want to read that for very long. Yeah. Like this has got, it's narratively rich. Like I said, I love the characters. I think it's got a lot of emotion in there, a lot of different types of emotions from all these people involved. It knows when to lighten things up. There's cool mysteries. There's sweet moments, and it looks good. But all around a good pick. Yeah, if you're less experienced with horror comics, like this is definitely a horror comic, but it's not a downer to read.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see here. I think it is time to check in on Review Show Bingo.
Yeah, I opened mine up. I don't think I'm able to get anything new out of this.
Okay, let's see. We don't get a courtroom scene, no death by electrocution, robots aren't blamed for murder. Only we had aliens blamed for murder. Detective who makes the case personal. That's a close one. I feel like it's not there yet. But
no, maybe volume 3 will bring it here.
Volume 3 or 4, yeah. If that one cop was starting to be like, all right, you know what?
Right.
The sheriff, he's incompetent. He's not doing this stuff. I'm taking over and doing stuff like that. Then I would.
Right. If we found out that like he lost a kid sibling when he was younger, and now he's like projecting that onto the situation of today. That's what we were looking for with detective who makes the case personal.
Yeah, but I think I'm in the same boat as you, Melissa. I don't think I have anything that I can mark down on bingo. So uneventful week for review show bingo here, but that's okay. Here you go. There's that. All right, Melissa, it is your turn to do the pitches for this next
recommendations,
week.
Though.
Yes. Recommendations. We should also do that stuff. I don't know why recently I keep just like glossing over them.
Pitches are exciting.
They are.
We want to get to pitches.
Next? What are we doing next?
I do some recommendations.
Recommendations. Go for it.
This book reminded me a lot of some comics we read at, I think, the beginning of 2020, maybe it was 2019. I only remember that it was cold outside. We read Lock and Key.
Yes.
Which is
Lock
also
it's a good book. Great book.
Yeah, a very compelling, inventive horror comic that is, it's definitely a horror comic. It can be very gruesome, very eerie, but it is also about young adult protagonists that are the subject of the horror, and they're trying to solve it and trying to get out of it. And it also has very rich side characters, like people that are around for 2 or 3 pages have a lot of detail and a lot of life to them. And you mentioned at the beginning that this is being adapted into a Netflix show by Mike Flanagan, who worked on adaptations of Stephen King work. And Lock and Key was written by Stephen King's son, correct?
Yes. That is true, if I'm not mistaken. Let me look that up.
I remember that's what you said. I forget his name. It's like Joe
Hill.
Something. His last name isn't King. Right.
Joe Hill. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that, him kind of already being in this book having a vibe very much like something in the King family, and then being adapted by somebody from the King family to be a great match. I look forward to seeing this on Netflix. I have actually not checked out the Lock and Key Netflix show yet. I keep meaning to. You've watched it.
I have watched it. I am currently watching season 2, which just came out a few days ago. I have the finale left to watch in season 2, and that's it. Yeah, I really love that story. I've only read the first 2 volumes, I think is what we read for the review show here on Lock and Key. I've not actually read the full story of the comics. However, I have listened to the audiobook adaptation, so I know the entire story. But I just have not read the comics. But that book is equal parts a horror comic and like murder mystery, but it's also fantastical, and there's these like magical keys that can do these things, and it's really creative. It's really cool. That book, and I recommend the Netflix adaptation too. But that story kind of revolves also around younger kids, and when they're kids they can see magic, and when they're adults they can't, and stuff like that. So similar stuff. So I think that's a good recommendation.
I would also recommend a series of novels I love. I've recommended them before. The Dresden Files books by Jim Butcher. Which is about it's an urban fantasy series about the only professional wizard in Chicago, and he's got a similar outlook to Erica, where he's keeping a lot of secrets from people for their own safety, because he's like, if you knew this, one, it would haunt you forever, like it would break your brain open. I don't want to do that to you. And if somebody knew that you knew this, you could be in danger and they could come and kill you to keep that secret. So he's also like, a big secret keeper being forced into that, and he's like also like talking to a police liaison, and he's like, I know it sucks that I can't tell you this, but really, trust me, I can't. Trust me that I know what I'm doing on my own. Please stay out of my way. He's also got that same outlook of just, you have to do what you have to do. Like, there's no angst about what he does. He's like, I am a career man now. That's what I have to be to keep people safe. Like, my whole life is magic. And he's got a sort of a wisdom spirit, sort of like a spiritual library, who like is the spirit that he has possessed. He's like trapped inside of an old human skull. So we'll go down to his workshop and he'll point to this like skull that's sitting on a bookshelf, and he's like, okay, Bob, what can you tell me about this type of werewolf? And the skull lights up like, well, Harry, this is what that sort of werewolf does. And he'll like take it out into the field, and he looks like he's just walking around like Hamlet talking to the skull. And Erica's little sock octopus reminded me a lot of that character.
There you go. Good stuff. Good stuff. Do you have more recommendations?
No,
or
just those two.
Those two. Okay. I have two recommendations as well. Let's see. Back when we first started the review show, Melissa, you and I read a book called Strangers in Paradise. You remember that?
Yeah.
There's another book by that same creator, Terry Moore, called Rachel Rising. And I have read that book. That's more on the side of like witches and stuff. And it's a fascinating book. The art is phenomenal. It's all in black and white, but it is about this girl who dies, and then she wakes up in her own grave, realizing that she had died and didn't know who killed her. She had been murdered, and so she has the like marks on her neck and all of that stuff. But yeah, it is this kind of like solve your own murder mystery kind of thing. But yeah, it dives into witchcraft and magic and stuff like that, and it's this big mystery that ends up dating back to like the Salem witch trials and all of that stuff. So if you like good horror comics that have like a good mystery to them, or like a secret society or a coven of witches and stuff like that, I would say check out Rachel Rising. And I believe it's all on Comixology Unlimited.
Oh, nice.
So you guys should go check that out. I think that would be one I would love to cover here on the review show. It would probably be one that we end up doing for our like end of the month specials. That way. But that book was phenomenal. I liked that one a lot. The other book is one that we have not read, or I don't think I've pitched on this show, but I've read the first few volumes, I think, like the first handful of them, the first like one or two. This is a book called Revival. And let me see here. Let me open this up in a new tab so I can get who it's by. It's written by Tim Seeley and art by Mike Norton, colored by Mark Englert. And this says, for one day in rural central Wisconsin, the dead came back to life. Now it's up to Officer Dana Cypress to deal with the media scrutiny, religious zealots, and government quarantine that has come with them, in a town where the living have to learn to deal with those who are supposed to be dead. Officer Cypress must solve a brutal murder, and everyone alive or undead is a suspect. Now, you might be thinking, hey, this is a zombie story. It's not really, not a zombie story. So these characters that come back to life, they don't look like zombies. They just kind of get revived like nothing happened, except that they know they died and all of that stuff. So they have to somehow get like reintegrated into society, into this town that they live in. And yeah, it's just this like it's this if you like this like small town horror set in like the Midwest here up in the woods where there is some like weird thing going on, the town doesn't really understand it or stuff like that. This book is absolutely one you should check out. So highly recommend that book too. That's it. That's all I got for recommendations.
All right. So now it is pitch time.
Now we can finally get to pitches. Yeah.
So I told you a couple weeks ago what my theme was for our final set of pitches for Spooktober. I have horror movies and their remakes. So we have 3 sets of 2 movies each. And every remake I'm talking about has the same title as the original.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm. So pitch number 1 from 1977 and 2018, we have Suspiria. I've never seen either of these.
Neither have I.
I watched a recap video of the first Suspiria, so I have like a sense of what happens in the style of the thing. But yeah, this is the set of these that I know the least about. An American newcomer to a prestigious German ballet academy comes to realize that the school is a front for something sinister and a series of grisly murders. That's the description for the original one, and the description for the new one is: a darkness swirls at the center of a world-renowned dance company, one that will engulf the artistic director, an ambitious young dancer, and a grieving psychotherapist. Some will succumb to the nightmare. Others will finally wake up.
Interesting.
Both of which are a little abstract, but I think this has witches in it. I'm not sure.
Okay. Cool,
if you're wondering what brand of the supernatural you're in for, I think witches.
Yeah.
All right. Pitch number 2 from 1985 and 2011. Fright Night. I watched the remake of Fright Night last year. I was talking to you about it on the Captain's Log. I had so much fun. And I'd be interested to see the original version because I looked them up. They've got very similar plot descriptions. I think it's like a pretty close remake. So I'd be interested to compare the two. I'll go ahead and read you the remake's description. Charlie is a high school senior who's in with the in crowd and dating Amy, the most sought-after gal on campus. But trouble enters his world in the form of Jerry Dandridge, a charismatic new neighbor. After witnessing some unusual activity next door, Charlie concludes that Jerry is a vampire. Of course, no one believes him. After seeking advice from illusionist Peter Vincent, Charlie sets out to destroy Jerry himself.
There you go. Good old Fright Night.
Yeah, fun cast in that one. The late Anton Yelchin, Colin Farrell is the vampire, David Tennant is the magician. And the girlfriend is Imogen Poots, who I just watched in another movie earlier this week, and I enjoyed her performance so much. I'd love to watch this again now, knowing a little bit more about Imogen Poots.
She was the one.
And finally,
she was in I Kill Giants, right? Is that she's also in that one?
I don't know. I've not seen that.
I don't remember.
And finally, Kyle, from 1973 and 2006. Perhaps you will say yes to the bees if we watch The Wicker Man.
The Wicker Man. Okay.
To give you the description for the new infamous Nicolas Cage version, a reclusive lawman travels to a secluded island to search for a girl who has gone missing. Once there, he discovers sinister forces at work among the island's secretive residents, including strange sexual rituals, a harvest festival, and possible human sacrifice.
Man. Okay, you've officially made this one difficult. A difficult choice here.
I will say, if it helps, I also looked up where you can find these. You can find old Suspiria on Tubi and new Suspiria on Prime. I think old Fright Night might be on Prime, and the new one is on Hulu. You can find original Wicker Man on Prime, and I think you would have to pay for new Wicker Man.
Okay.
So the choice is yours if you think that experience is worth $3 or $4.
I gotcha. Oh man, I think I'm gonna go with my gut, which says to do Suspiria.
Okay.
Because this, when I I feel like people put this in like a double feature with Black Swan, if that makes sense, because it's this like psychological thriller in this dance company, stuff like that. But I haven't seen Black Swan, but from everything I hear and understand, Black Swan borrows a lot from one of my favorite movies, Satoshi Kon's Perfect Blue. There's a lot of scenes that are like shot for shot remakes kind of that one thing. So they were heavily influenced by that. So in a weird way, I've actually had Suspiria on my list of like things that I should probably watch at some point, but only because I like Perfect Blue so much. So,
like it's like
I don't know like how this will connect, if at all.
Yeah, like I understand that you're like, I should see Black Swan because it's inspired by Perfect Blue, and if I'm gonna watch Black Swan, I should also watch Suspiria, another movie that inspired it.
Yeah.
Interesting series. Yeah, I understand.
I think that's what I want to go for. I say we watch Suspiria this next week.
Okay.
Or both of them, the old one and the new one, since we're
like I said,
doing a double feature.
Original from 1977. I think that's free on Tubi, and the 2018 Suspiria is on Prime.
Cool. Good stuff.
Yeah. These also both take place in, well, I think the remake still takes place in Germany. So we spent a lot of time in Germany earlier this year. Time to go back.
Sure did. So, if you guys may have noticed, we just picked Suspiria for this next week for the final week in October, which is usually when we do our end of the month special. If you don't remember, though, we are pushing our end of the month special to the start of November. So the first week in November is when we will pick back up with our end of the month special, in which we are watching The Leftovers. We've already covered season 1, and so we're about to cover season 2. So get ready for that down the road too. So
we have traditionally fudged this for October every year because end of October is Halloween. You got to give that time to Halloween, baby. So we'll be doing
time, you know,
right. Leftovers is like existentially eerie, not horror enough. So at the beginning of the month we'll cover season 2, and at the end of the month we'll cover season 3 and finish the whole thing. So November's going to bookend it with Leftovers.
Indeed. But yeah, I think that about wraps us up for this week here on the review show. So Melissa, where can the people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at WilkyWit. That's WILKYWIT.
And you guys can find me at Yo Kyle Springer. Oh,
I just completely blanked and stopped talking. Please do listen to my other podcast also. It's called Saturday Morning Obscurities. It's me and my brother Jams. We talk about weird old kids shows you feel like only you remember. And we will have a Halloween episode coming out in a couple days. So listen for that.
Perfect. If you guys want to follow me, I'm at Yo Kyle Springer on Twitter. If you guys want to stay up to date with all of the stuff that we do here at the Whatnauts, we are at the Whatnauts on Twitter. So go like, share, subscribe, no matter what kind of monsters you might believe in. That would help us out a ton to spread the word, stuff like that. So yeah, that wraps us up for number, what was 170 with this. I always forget the numbers by the end of this. 180 of the Whatnauts review show. Thanks for checking it out. We will see you all next week. Bye.
Bye.